presented by Dano's Seasoning. Yum yum, get you some.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome into the Sunbelt Syndicate. A special presentation here as we remember former App State Chancellor Ken Peacock. I am one of two hosts here, Dominick Crescetto, along with TJ Corman. I guess I pointed to the wrong side of the screen here. We are
Oh, good. They can see me.
Yeah, we're part of the Dawgs Media Network, so check out collegefootballdogs.com all season long for all your college football coverage. We are also sponsored by Dano's Seasoning. Down here in the corner, we've got a little 3-pack that you guys can get from the website using the promo code below, Doggos. Enter that at checkout, and you could help out some of your college football dogs as we go along through the season. Getting into tonight's episode, longtime Chancellor at App State, Dr. Ken Peacock passed away at age 75 on Friday morning. He was the Chancellor from 2004 to 2014. During his tenure, the school saw massive growth, not only in enrollment, but also in physical buildings on campus. That presence was also felt very easily on Saturdays in the fall, as Ken was seen from the field to the press box. Students and alumni both vividly remember him leading the band and holding national championship trophies as he led the charge for the football program on the field during game day. Throughout tonight's show, we will be joined by former App State football legends as they share their thoughts and stories with Chancellor Peacock during their time on campus. And I think without further ado, TJ, do we want to go ahead and bring in our first guest of the night?
Absolutely. The man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Richie Williams.
Yes.
Welcome to the show, man. How you doing, bro?
Good, bro. How y'all doing?
Good, man.
Very
Good.
good.
Hanging in there. First of all, thank you again for taking some time out of your evening, man. I know everybody's got kids. We all busy. We grown now. We bald now. So, nobody's got hair anymore. So, listen, I appreciate you, man. I really do appreciate you taking some time.
No problem, bro.
Yeah, man. I just wanted to, like I said, first start off, obviously, this special show tonight dedicated to Ken Peacock. I know how I remember him as one of the liveliest men, I've ever seen as it relates to a college campus. I mean, pushing up, doing push-ups with the cheerleaders, always carrying the trophies around.
Yeah.
I mean, he was a real deal, man. Tell us, any stories you might have of him and what are some of your fondest memories of him?
Nah, just being on the sideline all the time, man. You would have thought he was another coach. You know what I'm saying? He was out there so much, always amped up. I always talk to him like sport, man, after the game. Ask me how everything went. Always, like I said, always send the energy, especially when I came back after we won that first one. He always had that doggone trophy, boy. Right. Sit right there. He had a scarf around it.
Like it was luggage, didn't he?
Yeah.
That man stayed with them trophies. I was like, bro, do they live at your house, or how do you always have them?
Huh?
I was saying he always had the trophies with him, and I was like, bro, are they at your house? Like, do you keep them, or where?
I'm sure he did. Yeah, they stayed up there with him.
Yeah, he like I said, man, Chance was a good dude. He was a solid dude. He was always around. Like I said, damn near every practice he was there. Every game for sure he was there, bringing the energy, always bringing the noise, man. And like I said, he'll truly be missed by not just us, but how he affected the entire campus. I mean, I remember when we beat Michigan. You were long gone at that point, but student body dropping off the goalpost in his front yard. So just stuff like that, man, and him coming out with no shirt on. Like, first of all, don't come outside without a shirt on, Chance.
Hey, but that's him, though. That's him.
But that was him. That's who he was as a person, and like I said, we'll never forget him. That's for sure. So, to kind of shift gears, man, to a little bit of football. I know we're previewing our App State versus Coastal game. I know. I don't think. Actually, did you play against Coastal?
That was my senior year. That was the very first time we played Coastal.
Yeah, that was I think it was 30-0 at halftime.
30-0, man. I'm still upset because Coach Moore called the Dawgs off at halftime.
He was trying to be respectful. But what was crazy about that whole game was that he came in the locker room. for whatever reason super emotional. Like that's probably one of the most emotional moments I've ever seen Coach Moore have. Tell me what you remember about that, and tell me kind of what your thoughts were going into that initial Coastal game.
I just know it was a whole lot of bulletin board material getting thrown around from them.
Sir.
You know what I'm saying? They staff was talking junk, putting stuff out there. And so we took it personally, even though we like, these cats really think they can play with us.
Right.
And you already know the mentality we had. Like, y'all coming to our house too? For us to.
Yeah, I know. Listen, and what was crazier was I was more excited about that game because that was the game where they actually discovered as a freshman that I could play. Really? And so I was like, I'm about to tote the rock. I was running reverses. I'm running because I could, fresh out of college, I didn't know how to run routes yet. And K Rich was the running back, and there was no way I was going to outplay him at running back. So I was like, man, I don't care how I get the ball. Just give me the ball. And Lil Mo came in and he was like, hey, freshman, you ready to run? Yeah. Yes, sir. Yes. Give me however you want to give me the ball, give me the ball. So it was that was cool, man. Like I said, it was a whole lot of memories, man, a whole lot of time back then. We came a long way.
Long way, dog.
University. Because I know the year before I got there, you guys was starting to build up. Y'all had I'll just say this. You didn't have your running back situation solidified at the time.
No, bro, that year was rough. We had pieces, but we didn't have all the pieces, and we weren't as tight knit as we were when you got there. And a lot of that happened over the summer. You know what I'm saying? Did you not come up during the summer?
I did. I came in. Remember, I came July. I think it was 3rd or July 1st or something like that. Because remember, I was staying in Cardinal. And Cardinal Apartments with Chill. It was me, Chill.
Yeah, so you stayed upstairs, and then because Crew stayed with me downstairs at Cardinal. Right. Yep. But that summer is where everything really started to gel. Everybody got on the same page,
Yeah. So, no, man. I mean, like I said, we had some good times. There was certainly some good memories. I know you got some stuff to do. I'm gonna let you get back to it, man. But I really enjoyed you. Certainly appreciate you giving us some time tonight, man. I know you're a busy man. You got a lot going on: NASCAR, coaching, family, the whole deal. I see the helmets behind you.
Yeah, man.
And look, in the words of T.O., that's my quarterback. That's my quarterback.
Hey, I'm gonna bring in Armanti too. We'll go.
And they're going to
transition.
They're going to real QB. What up?
What's up?
Chilling.
What's going on, Money? How you doing, man?
I'm doing, man. Just busy. Yeah, a lot of busy. Just busy these past couple of months. So ripping and running.
I hear you, man. No, I appreciate you. Like I was telling Rich, I appreciate you guys taking some time to meet with us tonight, man. I know you guys are busy. Like I said, try not to keep you guys very long at all. We opened the show talking about Chancellor Peacock and what he meant to the university as a whole. I shared some thoughts. I know Richie shared some thoughts. Dominick opened the show with some thoughts. If you don't mind, man, give us some of your thoughts and some of your memories on what Chancellor Peacock meant to you.
Yeah, just to piggyback, I heard a couple of the things you guys said, so I'm hoping I'm not saying the same stuff when I popped in. But he was a guy just full of joy. So I just remember every time I saw Chancellor Peacock, he was happy, got a smile on his face, and just full of life, man. And that was great to see. And every time you had conversations with him, when I had conversations with him, he just always made it feel like you was in the right place. You was at home. He was very caring, and that's what I remember about him.
Awesome. Yeah, it's like I said, man, it's one of those things where it hits hard when it's somebody that's that important to you, somebody that was that important to us as a campus. I was telling Rich before you came on, I remember us when we beat Michigan and the student body dropping the goalpost in his front yard, and just a lot of the things that he would do and how he would make himself available to us. It's really, in my opinion, it's sort of unlike any Chancellor that I've ever seen or heard of. Because a lot of the stuff he was doing, you got to remember, nobody was doing that stuff. Mm-hmm. I mean, hanging out with cheerleaders, always having the trophies with him, being at practice, being at games. I mean, like I said, he was around before you got there, obviously with Rich and all those guys. I mean, he was really involved all the way around, and he was really a personable guy, somebody you can come up, talk to, and those kinds of things. So, like I said, man, rest in peace, Ken. We'll always certainly remember you. And as we try and shift, gears, previewing our Coastal app matchup, I don't know how much money you've been watching app this year, but give me some of your thoughts on what the team has looked like, and share some opinions on where you think this is headed.
I think they're headed in the right direction. They bouncing back from last year. Last year was a down year. They're just trying to figure out their identity again. You got some key players that have gotten hurt. You have some guys that are, went on to graduate, and there's younger guys that's stepping in the roles now, where they're trying to figure out, who the leaders are and what's their identity moving forward.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, you got a lot of times too, and Rich, I don't know how much you've seen of app play this year. There's some times where on defense we look like gangbusters. I mean, the pick six versus ULM, stopping people in the backfield, and then we give up some of the craziest big plays that you've ever seen. I mean, we letting Carolina's running back go for 30 and 40-yard carries, and it's not indicative of who we are as a team. It's spot plays every now and again, and I'm trying to figure out, and maybe Rich, you can answer a little bit more into this in terms of insight. How do you channel that into not let? Because again, it's not consistent throughout the entire game. It's 4 or 5 big plays that we let happen on a game-to-game basis. How do you address that if you coach? And I know you got some coaching experience. How do you address that in your locker room?
Well, just like piggyback on what Money said, man, when you're trying to fill spots for injuries and new guys, for another cats that graduated, it just takes time to gel. You know what I'm saying? Y'all know that. So you're gonna have those spots during the game where they is not gonna work out, or you're gonna have busted plays, busted coverage, and stuff like that.
Right.
Especially in the big moments, man. Just like I thought at the end of that Carolina game that we should have drove down, you know what I'm saying, and actually won that game in regulation.
Right. Agreed.
But that's just another thing, you know what I'm saying, that goes into being consistent, man. But that just comes with time too when you're trying to fill spots and you know what I'm saying, just build that camaraderie.
Yeah, no, I agree. Again, it goes back to one of those things, and I guess we're all spoiled because we didn't have that transition process. I mean, I know for me as a receiver, I went from Richie to Armanti. Like there was no drop off at all. I was spoiled as a receiver, so it's one of those things where it's hard sometimes to watch because not every program gets as lucky to have guys like y'all back to back. I mean, coming down, I still remember that run you had against LSU my freshman year, playing the second half, and it was just like, guys like that don't come around every day, yet we had 2 of them back to back. It's kind of like the Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers situation, not comparing you guys to those guys, but as heir apparents, right? So as an App State fan base, we get spoiled. Or I guess the fan base, if you haven't played, gets spoiled. And Dominic, you can probably speak a little bit more to this because of what we had and what we were able to accomplish in those years.
Yeah. Just jumping back in on that fact, you absolutely spoiled with Richie followed by Armanti. And I think we can all agree that Richie would have had an even better career had they been running the offense that Richie got to run his final season instead of the old school power I for a little bit, So, yeah, definitely, I think that's a big aspect. Everyone wants the next Richie, the next Armanti at the quarterback position. And obviously, we know now how insanely difficult it is to find these diamonds in the rough that we've been lucky enough to have. And just you go back and you get to watch those games. You see those highlights of what you guys did. Richie's got that, Byron Leftwich type moment where, he's limping down the field.
Against Furman, that was crazy.
Yep. And then Armanti's got, getting banged up throughout the season and still coming in and playing his heart out. And you guys both come away with national championship. And I mean, it's just been phenomenal to be a fan of this team. And I was kind of lucky enough to be coming in right as all that was kind of happening. I did grow up in Hickory, but weirdly enough, graduated high school up in Pennsylvania. So my first national championship for App was watching up in my living room in Pennsylvania as Richie and the guys and you guys all took it home there in Chattanooga for the first one, and I was lucky enough to be there in person for the last of the 3. So, yeah, it's been an amazing ride, and we've been lucky to, as fans, to follow you guys that put this school and these fans in position to be in the Sun Belt and do what they're doing now and accomplish what they're accomplishing now. And, it's just been phenomenal. It's an honor to be on with all three of you guys, to be totally honest, and just to have TJ accept to come on this show and do this pretty much weekly, and now have you guys jump on. It's awesome, and I know it's showing in the view count tonight. By far our biggest viewership so far. So we really appreciate you guys coming on.
That's what happens when you got legends.
It is.
That's what happens when you got legends. You know what I mean? I'm just trying to be like you guys when I grow up. You know what I mean? So, but no, on a serious note, and I told you guys I wouldn't keep you long. I know you guys got stuff to do. Last thing I want to touch on before you guys jump off, and I'll start with you, Richie. I don't know how much you've seen of Coastal and App play this year. I know we talked about, the Carolina game. Give us what you think the breakdown should be for Appalachian State going into this game against Coastal. How do you see it? How do you see it shaping up?
Man, well, I haven't been watching like weekly because I work on the weekends too. So
exactly.
But I know they got McCall's back at quarterback. If he gets going, he could be dangerous. So pretty much just contain him, man. Keep him in the pocket, man. Keep him from making them explosive plays. And then on offense, we got to be consistent. And also we got to mix it up a little bit too, from what I've seen. You know what I'm saying? Take a few more shots and whatnot. But we do have the tools to come out with the dub. We just got to be confident in what we're doing.
Agree 100%. Monty, what's your thoughts on this preview matchup?
I've been able to watch them every week except ECU, I think. So from what I've been seeing, defensively, we got to get some more stops. The offense has been playing well enough outside of maybe 1 or 2 games to be undefeated right now. If the defense can get 1 or 2 more stops, then it's a different story at this moment. But offensively as well, there have been some times where it gets stagnant. It goes back to a little bit of predictable where it's going to be run. And just like Richie said, you gotta take some more deep throws. And I think they started that last week. I can't remember everybody's name, but he's number 8, and he reminds me of Quick too. The tall young kid.
I was just here to say,
So they got him out there. So hopefully they continue to build on that with going deep with him.
Yeah, and
Dalton
going to your point,
okay.
Sorry.
No, you're good. Going to your point about predictability, the zone run has worked for us, right? But that's not something that we can hang our hat on every time. We've got, Noel comes into the season. I think he's ranked 3rd or 4th in the country in total yards. Dom, you can correct me if I'm wrong on that. But that can't be the end all be all. Like, we've got to take some deep shots. We can't on, 3rd and 7 rely on the stretch, on the stretch zone play. It doesn't always work. So we've got to add some variety to our offense. And then, like you said, Monty, spoken like a true quarterback, we got to get some stops on defense. We got to make sure we limit the big plays, man. Like I said, it's not that defense isn't playing well enough for us to be winning. It's the big plays and the mental mistakes and the missed tackles, missed assignments that we're having occasionally. And that's what ends up being the difference when you break down those plays and when you break down film. That's what it looks like to me, is that it's not so much as a consistent thing. Our defense is not good. It's that we're giving up those plays in those moments, like Richie talked about, those big moments. That's what's the difference moving forward. So, again, like I said, I know we've got Devon Moore waiting in the wings, but thank y'all so much for joining us, man. I can't tell you how much I appreciate this from you guys. Again, I know y'all are busy, so really appreciate you guys, and I hope y'all have a good night.
All right, y'all too, man.
Appreciate it. All right, man.
I'll be texting y'all. I'll hit y'all up.
I'll be seeing y'all in a little bit.
I was going to say, I'll be in Boone on after Thanksgiving. I'll see you.
All right. I'll let y'all.
I'll take it easy.
See you guys. All right, let's get Devon up in here.
What's going on, Devon?
What's going on? Why you ain't let me hop on so I can say what's up to Monty and Rich?
I don't control that. That's on Dominick. Listen,
I'll be honest.
The media
I don't know how 5 people fit. I was like, do I add him now? I was trying to wait for a good opportunity, and then TJ's like, hey, y'all get out of here. And
it's cool, man. Also, it's cool.
I'm not a media person, so that's but I just told Money we are going to we'll be there for the Georgia Southern game. You going too, right?
Yeah, we going.
So I think we all got the same. We all got the same hotel, right?
Pretty sure. I'm pretty sure your wife and my wife just handled that. I don't know.
Yeah,
whose
I don't
credit card
ask
they
questions, bro.
use.
Yeah.
Yeah, me neither. I don't know whose credit card they use, but it's been at least booked. So we all right for that.
It's been established. So again, like I said, everybody that's listening in, this is Devon Moore. One of the better running backs in App State history. I had the pleasure of being roommates with him. We live in the same, were in the same town. I was in Durham with him. Just recently, I moved to Wake Forest, but we see each other regularly on a weekend basis. So happy to call this guy one of my very, very best friends. And we've been sharing our thoughts and, on what Kenneth Peacock meant to, App State as a chancellor, as a person. So if you would, please just share us a couple of your thoughts on Ken Peacock.
Peacock was an overall great chancellor. Like, I'm pretty sure Armanti and Richie had spoke about it, but it's rare that you see a chancellor on the sideline cheering up and down with the cheerleaders, interacting with the fans. You remember that night after election, we drove up to his house and he came out at 10 o'clock at night, to celebrate with everybody. Like, you don't see that across campuses, across the country. So for us to have a guy like that, it's just, I heard you all talking earlier about being spoiled. We were spoiled when it comes from that aspect of it.
Yeah,
and
from the top down, we were spoiled.
Yeah, exactly. And to have a chancellor so involved with just not sports, even though we were winning, but everybody, you can see how the rest of the student population kind of acted with them, embraced him, interacted with him. Like, it was, once again, it was crazy to see. I imagine most students can't tell you who their chancellor name is, and we've got hugs and high fives from.
I was going to say, we know him on a first name basis. We would see him walking out. What's going on, Ken? Like, what's up, Chance? Like that kind of stuff. I mean, it was that sort of relationship that we had with him on a day-to-day basis. So, it goes without saying how much he'll be missed. Again, I can't even put into words what his family must be going through. So again, thoughts, prayers, all of that stuff, lifting you guys up and certainly wishing you guys the best. So as again, we have done a couple different times trying to transition over to the football side of things now. I know you've been keeping track of apps so far this year. We've been on some text threads. We've been pissed off sometimes. There's been some things that have been said. Before we jump into the Coastal preview, give me your overall breakdown of what you think either needs to change or where this team is headed. What does it look like for you?
I heard a little bit about what you all spoke about before. I think our offense is coming around. Obviously, I play running back, so I want us to run the ball as much as possible. But I think they got the right quarterback in there now. Not that the first gentleman wasn't good, but I think Aguilar is doing better and has settled in quicker. So I think offense is coming around. I would like us to get a little more creative with the type of runs that we do. So
that's exactly what I just said. That zone read, zone stretch play. So it's good when it works.
It definitely has a place for it, but we have a stable of running backs that I feel like we can do more of a change of pace, kind of like they had when they had Cam and Noel. Cam was running down hard yards, but then you had Noel to bounce outside. So I think we're missing that piece of it.
Right.
When it comes to more of a change of pace, throwing two backs at it. As far as the pass game, once again, I feel like we have big plays here and there. I think our receiving core is young, but they're definitely going to just continue to get better. As far as defense, we're good. We're just not quite there.
Right. Like we just talked about it. Me, Money, and Richie. And I know you heard some of it. It's not that they're consistently not playing well. Yeah. It's the big plays that they give up in the worst possible moments that you can give them up. Yep. It's like the temperature should go up, right? The attention to detail should go up and increase in those moments, and it just does not seem like it does. It's like, whether it's a penalty, jumping off sides, anything like that, or like I said, just gap integrity is wrong, missed assignments. Yeah. Not knowing who has what and matching up. So it's it speaks to, in my opinion, and this is not throwing anybody under the bus, but it speaks to, from a coaching perspective, how are you preparing your team when the moment gets the biggest, when the stage is the brightest?
Yeah.
What does that look like? You know, you've got to depend on your best players to make those plays in those moments.
Yeah.
And, you know, going back to us, and I hate comparing teams because we were who we were and they are who they are. But we had guys like, you know, Jeremy Wiggins, Corey Lynch, you know, Dre Legree, you know,
We had some dogs.
It's trying to think of everybody that played Demetrius.
We had some dogs.
I mean, we had some dogs, and so it wasn't just we counted on one player. It was 11 hats to the football all the time, and I think that piece is what's missing for us. We're too reliant on one side of the ball carrying the load, whereas when we played, we averaged 40 a game on offense, but we only gave up 10 points.
Exactly.
So
I think another thing they're missing is I think they are missing a little bit of leadership on the defensive side.
Yeah, well, everybody's young over there. It's a lot of young.
Exactly. So we're going to learn it eventually. Right. I think we're still a little early in the season and in their careers for it to be solidified. But I mean, last year they had was it my man Jackson?
Yeah, I think
he was the leader. He was the leader, the linebacker.
I believe it was Jackson. I can't remember his name. And then I think a year or two before that, we had what's his face that went to Cincinnati, played with the Bengals.
Exactly.
So there was some old heads. There was some Davis Gates. Yeah. So we had some old heads that were in some leadership spots. And right now, you know, you've got freshmen, sophomores, and a sprinkle or two of juniors here and there. Whereas, you know, when we played, we reloaded. But we reloaded in the sense of that leadership responsibility was always passed down to somebody else. And I think that's what's missing. Dominic?
Yeah, I got a question here from Vandy Chris, and that should give it away that he is a Vanderbilt fan. So I think this question specifically is related to his team. Yeah, exactly. So you guys as former running backs, you guys can certainly answer this better than I can, and that's where he's leaning on. But also, he's a big Nate Noel fan, so that's good. He's definitely paying attention to the running backs. But I guess he's asking for his team here. You know, 3 great players. Well, I think he was probably said this while some of the other guys were on the screen as well. But how would you address a team that has discipline or ball security issues? I think Vandy has both of those things. So what have you guys experienced when you played or saw that, you know, helped turn those types of things around?
I can tell you from experience, and I'll let you take this, Devin, because you carried the ball a lot more than I did during the games. I can tell you from experience, there was one game against Elon that we played against, and I was always in the slot. And I asked Lil Mo during the game, I said, man, can I please get in the backfield? Can you give me the ball? Just let me. And I think it was a couple plays I ran, did really well. And the third time I got in the backfield, he handed me the ball off on 41. And I fumbled. We got the ball back. Now, keep in mind, I only fumbled 4 times in my entire college career. So it wasn't very often that I fumbled. I didn't touch the ball out of the backfield for the next 3 games. That's that. So everything I had was catches. There was no running the ball for the next 3 games. So I say that to say there has to be consequences for your actions. Now I get it. If you got starters that are fumbling the rock and doing those, you got to depend on who you have to depend on. But ball security was preached to us at an all-time high, and you know you can't turn the ball over. And Devin, again, like I said, I know you can speak a little bit more to that.
So it's levels to this. So first off, you do have to coach ball security. So you have to have drills throughout practices every day in a routine to practice ball security. The next thing is you're right. You have to have consequences to it. So there has to be some kind of punishment to fumbling. And I'm not saying it's not playing or whatever the case may be, but you can't just allow that to continue to happen. The next thing, it does come down to your coaching style. So, I mean, once again, with us, with Little Mo, you kind of understood that when you did fumble, you was going to get ringed out when you got back to the sideline at halftime.
Even if you're up by 30.
And even if you're up by 30. And the next week, he wasn't going to let it go again until you had another game without one. There is a mental component to turnovers. it seems like they come in waves. So if a whole team
Right.
is, fumbling or intercept or, getting pick six, just turnovers, they seem to come in wave, and then it gets in people's mind, and it's hard to get out of that cycle, which I think is probably the biggest thing. If you have a running back who's fumbled once, 2-3 games in a row, it starts to get in his
It's
head.
up
So
there. Yep, it's up
exactly.
there.
So you got to get a coach to help him out of that rut. And as soon as you go a few games without fumbles, then it's like, okay, I got it back. I got my confidence back. We back on it.
Because also, too, you running tight with that ball, right?
Yeah.
Because once you fumbled a couple times, you're focused less on breaking away and breaking tackles, and more on covering the ball, and you're not being yourself, right?
And you're not being a running back. Exactly.
Right. You're not being a running back. So it takes away from, like you said, that mental component, that mental part of it. It takes away from who you are, as an actual player. So, again, I know you're busy, newborn, you got a 3-year-old, making dinner. I know you got a lot going on, man. Last thing I'm going to ask you, going into this matchup with Coastal, I know you've watched Coastal this year. I know you've watched App a lot this year. What are the keys to the game for App to kind of turn this thing around? Again, it's not like we lost. We did win the game. We're talking like we completely went out there and laid an egg. But what are some things to turn around?
We should be undefeated.
Right. Exactly. So what in your mind are some things that we need to be focused on going into this thing against Coastal?
I saw them play Georgia State, and Georgia State established a run game, not only with the running backs, but with the quarterback as well. So,
right.
And then after that, it's like whatever Georgia State decided to run was going to work. So I think if we can, once again, I'm a running back, but still, if we can establish the run game early in the game, it's going to make Aguilar and those wide receivers' job so much easier, because one-on-one, you're not going to hang with our wide receivers.
No, not happening.
He's a pretty darn good, accurate passer, so he's going to put it where he needs to go. On the defensive side, I think we need to come out early and just set the tone.
Yeah.
Our D-line is good, but I think these first few drives, if it was 3rd and 6, I would almost send the house to really kind of.
I was just getting ready to say, you want to pepper them up with some pressure,
exactly,
because that's what I'm thinking too. Is while we have the defensive line that we do have, and they are pretty good, it certainly helps to be able to add some extra tension to that. So I would almost lock up, go man across the board, and send the house. You know what I mean? Make sure your blitz outside of you have outside contain. You don't let him let that quarterback get on the outside of you. Keep them contained. So, I guess you can call it a leverage blitz. But bring the dogs, man. Because listen, establish the tone early. Don't play. And
once again, if you hit a quarterback early enough in the game, he's going to be a little bit rattled throughout the rest of the game. Once again, it's a mental thing, right? So, once again, them first few drives, if we get them in 3rd and 6, like you said, I'm sending a controlled, contained blitz, but I'm bringing people at them.
Almost like a zone blitz.
You know who does it the best is Brent Venables. You remember when he was at Clemson, his blitzing schemes were they were so elaborate and smart, and the gap protection.
Exactly.
It was perfect. So if we can do something like that to them early, once again, hit the quarterback, get them rattled, possibly create a turnover. If we hop on them early, the Coastal Carolina is good, but I saw what Georgia State did to them, and
it took the fight out of them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So back on the rotation on the running back, you think you go to that early and often, or are you kind of letting Noel set the pace first and then sprinkling these other guys in? Because it seemed like that was kind of what they did, I think, a little bit more of last game. What are your thoughts on kind of more consistent to start with and then later, or is it kind of from the start just kind of go ahead and give a couple guys a couple runs? Like what rhythm wise and like how you're feeling about the game that night, like from a running back perspective, what do you like there?
Yeah, no, Noel's the running back. So yeah, you got to let him get the first probably 3 drives. Once again, so he can feel the game out. He can get comfortable, feel the defense out. And not only that, he's going to start relaying that to the coaches as well. Hey, I saw this on this run. I saw this on this play. So you got to let him get, once again, at least the first 3 drives. And then after that, start throwing other running backs in there. But as you throw other running backs in, throw in a different type of run play. So, for example, Noel is the best at that outside zone. But when you put that, I think it's Roberts, when you put him in, give him a trap straight up the middle or an inside zone or something, or, a power or something like that.
I was actually just about to say, let's also utilize our running backs to their strengths, right?
Exactly.
Don't just put, obviously Noel is a master of the zone read. It takes a special skill set to be able to establish that and to be able to pick and choose your hole. And once it is mastered, and you know this, Devin, that zone run is a deadly run play. However,
it's hard to stop, brother.
Right, and not everybody's equipped to run it, right? So you got to let these guys do what they do. And so for me, I think we need to utilize multiple running backs, but also use them in the way that best represents their skill set. And that's the way I think we'll be successful. And two, it keeps the defense honest. Keep them off balance. Don't give them the same look every time.
All the way.
Right? Give them some, give them some of that speed with Noel and then punch him in the mouth.
Exactly. So, and then once again, after you get that established and these linebackers are itching to come downhill, it just opens up the pass game
right over the head.
So much. Yeah. And once again, with our receivers, their speed and Aguilar's arm, like you just deep play after that. So once again, I'm biased on running back, but that run game is, once you establish a run game, it's just you keep a defense off balance the rest of the game.
One more quick question at least. So there's thoughts or rumors that, Berger is back, and I think there's some unfounded rumors that maybe he may even start tomorrow night. I don't think I agree with that if that's the way that's actually going to go. But regardless, if Aguilar struggles early in this game for any reason, is this like a turning point where you go back to Berger, or do you think like Aguilar has control of the team and the offense right now, and you wouldn't do that even if there's a little bit of early struggles?
Yeah, no, I wouldn't do that. It would have to be a lot of struggles for me to switch. Not that Berger's not good. Just once again, Aguilar has played for the last 4 weeks. He's settled in. He has control of that offense and that locker room. I would stick with him unless he threw 3 interceptions or on the way towards it before I switch. I don't see that happening, but I wouldn't start him. No.
Yeah. Don't upset the apple cart at this point. And don't have him thinking either that he's on a short leash, because that too messes up your mentality. Yeah. If you go into the game thinking, a one bad throw away from going back to the bench because our starting quarterback is back. No, you're the guy. You're the starter. It doesn't matter. Play your game and let him play the way that he's been able to play. Again, I agree with you, TJ, and also great name. You gotta stick with Aguilar, man, because at this point of the season, you're starting. And we talked about this, Dominic, I think a few shows back. That 4th, 5th, 6th game of the year, you start to find out who you really are.
Yep.
And he's a part of that, right? In college football, you don't get a preseason. You don't have, your scrimmages are against you guys.
Right.
So when you get to this point of the season, is who am I really? And you don't want that to be upset by a quarterback having, his backup at this point hanging over his head, should things go wrong. So, I agree for the most part. Don't upset things right now.
Yeah. Well, and for my part, that was something that kind of was asked of me earlier, kind of told to me. I don't know where a rumor like that starts. I totally disagree as well. First of all, I thought Aguilar should start the season from everything I had seen on film.
We had that conversation too.
Yeah, they're telling us, Clark's telling us that these guys are neck and neck. And I'm like, if they're neck and neck and the guy who's been there for a year or more hasn't won this job, then he's not going to win this job.
That tells you what you need to know.
Exactly. That's not to disparage Berger at all. I hope he's a great guy, but it just looked like the moment was, a tad too big for him in that first game. Just some jitters. I don't think he was playing bad. I just think he wasn't playing as good as he could play. And Aguilar got the chance because Berger got banged up. Those are the breaks of that. But, for me personally, I'm definitely sticking with Aguilar. I love how the kid plays the game. And you guys can speak on this too because you've seen this. I was talking to somebody at work who's a NC Central fan, so, local to all of us here in Durham. But he said that Central's coach mentioned the fact that this is the first team he's coached where the play before, the series before, doesn't bother them. And Aguilar reminds me of that same thing. If you see him on the sideline, he's not throwing his helmet. He's not yelling at his wide receivers or his running backs. He's going right back at, I guess that's the Cali boy in him, right? Like, it just doesn't bother him. It's whatever. But I think you guys have played with quarterbacks. I'm sure, Devin, did you play quarterback too? I know TJ obviously did, but did you play quarterback as well, Devin? No,
I
just
played running back my whole life. Except when I was in middle school, I was a middle linebacker.
Okay. Right.
Yeah. Picture
I do not want to see you as a middle linebacker if I'm running up the field. I'll tell you that. Neither you nor TJ.
No. Then I did not.
You ain't got to worry about me. I ain't tackling nothing.
Nah, not anymore. I didn't hit a growth spurt when I got to high school, and I was like, I can't do this no more.
Oh man.
Yeah, I'm the last thing you need to worry about hitting you. I'm gonna strip. I'm gonna go for the ball. Ain't gonna be a whole lot of tackling with me.
Nah.
I'm not built like that. So
yeah.
But no, Devin, man. Like I said, unless Dominic, you got anything else to add? I know he's got a family to get back to. Those kinds of things.
But I do apologize for keeping to ask you questions, Devin. But I love you guys' expertise on this stuff because it's rare that we get so many guys in here sharing their thoughts and feelings on our team that we love specifically and just football in general. The only expertise on the show is on that side over there with TJ. So I'm just speaking from the fan perspective. I will say, thank you very much for coming on, Devin. TJ, don't go anywhere. We got a Coastal Carolina contributor who wants to come on and talk with us real quick before we jump off as well.
Oh,
sounds good. I appreciate you, Devin.
I'll hit you up, Theo.
All right, man.
All right. And now we're going to bring on Brandon Biskobing, who covers Coastal Carolina down there in Conway, South Carolina. What's going on tonight, Brandon?
Hey, guys. And before we get to the game, let me just mention, I know you guys, like what you were saying, stick with what you've got. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. But what is up with Grand Strand quarterbacks in North Carolina struggling and being benched this year? Because not only is it Ryan Berger, but also over at East Carolina, you have Mason Garcia, who is from the team that I broadcast for down here, Carolina Forest.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know what's going on. I think, Dominic spoke to this a little bit. It's not so much as the moment being too bright. It's this when you've got a situation where you come in and you're the guy, but the guy behind you is playing as good or better than you. Maybe it's his time and maybe it's his team. So, really unfortunate circumstances with Berger for sure. Obviously, he got hurt a little bit, and that sort of led to the change. But I think at this point, you keep it the same. But yeah, to your end. That has been the trend here in North Carolina. So we gotta fix some things.
In a good way, though, Brandon, that means you guys got a lot of talent down there because not only the two that we just mentioned here, but Georgia State's starting quarterback also from that area. So, you guys are pumping out the quarterbacks left and right. So, there's no loss of talent down there. So it's probably a pleasure for you to get to broadcast some games in that area.
Well, and he's still young. He's just a freshman and he's a walk-on. But speaking of Darren Granger, his brother plays for Conway right now. And he is getting he got an offer from Navy and I want to say maybe East Carolina or North Carolina A&T.
Nice.
One of the schools over that way.
Good schools.
Yeah. And then during the game this past week, it's the big rivalry game, North Carolina Forest against Conway. Grayson McCall was seen at the game with our old quarterback, Scott Saylor, who is at Coastal right now. So it's kind of mentor-mentee situation there.
Yeah, a little passing of the torch.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so Brandon, what do you think? I know your outlook on Coastal's season overall was better before the season started.
Yes.
We both did think that they stood a chance. I think even TJ thought that Coastal may have stood a chance against UCLA. Not a great one because it's, as we've mentioned before, it's the big time
coast
travel.
To coast, yeah.
It's and we also touched on the fact that it was like playing at midnight for Coastal, right? By the time that game started.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, those are things that are just going to handcuff you. And they still went on to perform pretty well against what looks like now a fantastic UCLA team after they just beat, what was it, Washington State this past week, I believe. So, yeah, Brandon, what's your outlook currently, even though the Chancellors come in here with probably a little bit of a disappointing season compared to what they thought they might see this year?
Yeah, I'm definitely a lot more down on this season currently than I was going into the season. I mean, the UCLA game, we kind of all knew, okay, it's going to be a tough battle. It's against a Power 5 opponent on the road, going coast to coast, all of that. So you knew, okay, yes, you would like the upset, but if it doesn't happen, it's not the end of the world.
Right. You get why.
Yep.
But going in, and I get Georgia State is a lot better than, a lot of people thought going into the season, and a lot better than they have been over the last couple of years. But losing the conference opener, the home conference opener in the way that they did a couple of weeks ago, and then proceeding to lose to Georgia Southern last week as well. Or a couple of weeks ago, rather. Yeah, I am not nearly as positive about this team, and I get it. Tim Beck, brand new head coach. It took Jamie Chadwell a little bit of time to implement his system into the program and all of this, but it's just, especially with it being Grayson McCall's last year, I was expecting a lot more from this team, and especially, and I kind of meant, I knew that this was going to be the case, that it was going to be a very pass-happy team with Grayson McCall and all of that, and with how Coach Beck is, but not being able to get really much of a running game at all going.
Right.
In any of their, even against, I mean, Duquesne is kind of the outlier because they're an FCS school. But even against a first-year FBS opponent like Jacksonville State, not being able to get the running game going really at all in that game.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not a good sign.
On the other side of the ball then, what's defensively, you guys think you stand a good chance to stop Nate Noel in this offense as they roll out the second leading rusher in all of NCAA football right now?
I hope not.
I mean, again, that's another thing. Going into the season, I thought that the front seven was going to be the power of this defense, but it's really been the secondary that's been the stars of the show thus far. But and they've had some issues stopping the running game over the last couple of weeks. So, especially going up against a run-happy team like App State, yeah, I knew that going into the season, I knew this game was, this game and the Marshall game and James Madison were going to be the three Sun Belt games that were really going to be important. But after
that means you didn't focus on Georgia State and Georgia Southern like you should have.
Exactly.
I agree, but I mean, that's the thing. Going into the season, you were thinking, okay, Georgia State, Georgia Southern should be pretty relatively easy wins. They're not the top of the level. They're not the top level of the East.
Right.
But the way they played against those two teams, it is not looking good for the remainder of the season.
All right. Well, so the remainder doesn't look great, but what's your specific outlook, maybe score-wise, or maybe just a real quick view of what you think the game might look like tomorrow night there in Boone?
Yeah.
That says a lot right there. Just I don't know.
let me ask you guys this. Get your thoughts, since you guys watch App State a lot more than I do. What is their defense like? Is it more of a run defense or more of a pass defense or a little bit of both?
So there's it seems to be, and Dominic, you can kind of correct me if I'm wrong and fill in any gaps. It seems as though they're sort of balanced, right? There's some times where the defensive line and linebackers do a really good job controlling and containing the run. And then there's times like against ULM where we get pick sixes, right? And we really play great on the back end. The problem is it's not all at one time. And that's been my issue with them is that, they'll play great in one phase of football and then the other phase kind of goes by the wayside or vice versa. We have yet to put a full defensive game together where we stop because we're capable of doing it. We have the talent to do it. It's just a matter of putting it all together. So there's been some, for whatever reason, drag and sort of getting both sides, if you will, pass and run defense to sort of connect together. But my guess is that if this is, if there's any team to right the ship against, this would be one to do it at home against a rival, sort of, kind of a hate week kind of deal. And knowing the struggles that you guys have had on, in all phases really of football, I think this is a get right game, so to speak, for us to be able to kind of put everything together, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, and that's why I asked, because I think, like you were talking about, with them not being able to they're either very good against the run, but not so good against the pass, or vice versa. Right. If they can dominate the passing game and shut Grayson McCall down on a passing front, then yeah, it's going to be a disaster for Coastal, because the running game just has not been able to do much of anything yet. So yeah, if App State's defense is dominant in the running, or dominant in the passing game, even if they're mediocre in the run game, it's probably still going to be a dominant App State win. If it's on the flip side, if they're struggling in the pass defense, then it may be a closer game. But I'm probably going to say, looking at it right now with the way both teams have played, I'm going to say probably 35-21 App State.
Reasonable score. Makes sense.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a reasonable score. I'd say the one thing that I've noticed defensively is, I can't give myself full credit for this. My dad was sitting beside me at the UNC game and noted on it as a former offensive lineman himself. There is very little pass rush from the defensive front of App State. Now, is that by design because they don't feel they have whatever they're missing to bring the pressure more often, or they're just, in a couple of these games that just doesn't play well to what they've seen on tape? I don't know. I can't answer that, unfortunately. But it seems like in conference, more tape, more familiarity, maybe that's when they bring out a little bit more of the pass rush, a little bit more of the pressure. And if they're starting to do that, is that something that Coastal is going to be accounting for, because they haven't seen it much on film? And now with playing at the comforts of home on a Tuesday night, they feel like they can bring that pressure and force Grayson McCall into some bad errant throws or some rush throws or just some hurries that cause him to just keep the ball and take a 5-yard loss. So, yeah, I mean, I would side on the fact with you that I think App State gets the victory at home rather easily, but I could see this game being a little bit close in the first half if, like you said, App State's defense does struggle in any specific aspect of the game as they try and, control the game early on the other side of the ball.
Well, to your point right there with the pass rush, that's been one of the issues that, and I knew this going into the season, is the offensive line is relatively young. They lost their left tackle. He graduated. So and he's been there for a few years. He actually went to Carolina Forest as well. So they may not need to have the big pass rush, sending blitzes and all of this. If they can, and I don't know how good the defensive front, the front four for App State is, but if they can dominate the Coastal offensive line without even needing to send any extra help,
winning their individual matchups. Yeah,
exactly. If they can win their individual matchups, then they don't even need to worry about that.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, it's a front three now. It's a front three. We've been running that 3-4 defense.
Well,
but I mean, we do consistently bring one of the linebackers up on one of the sides to bring that pressure pretty often, or at least disguise it. So yeah, I get what you're saying there, but I think, man, that's a pretty good preview all around. We got former players that are coming on with their expertise and sharing what they've thoughts and feelings and what they've seen is. We've got Brandon, who's literally covering the other team on the other side from afar. Brandon, just to double check, you're not coming all the way up to Boone for this game.
No, I'm not coming up to Boone
It's like a 6-hour ride for you, right?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, I mean, if it were at home, I'd definitely be there. But I have basically like a month-long break from having to actually go to any games because they're on this long road trip.
Well, it's nice for you. At least you get to spend some time at home, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. And Trent had a question. I'll put it right back up real quick. I don't know the significance of this. Did Coastal's truck get unstuck? Do you know anything about a truck getting stuck?
No, I didn't see anything about that.
So, I actually did see a picture of this. I don't know to answer his question. I don't know I didn't know what was going on, but they were turning into old part of our facilities on campus, and I think the truck driver couldn't make the turn. Yeah. So I'm trying to look for it. I can't find I saw that, and I was thinking to myself, where is it? And I can't find it.
I didn't even realize they left this early.
I didn't either. They're doing things differently now.
Yeah, because it's only for a day trip, it's a pretty long drive, but for a full, game and full operation and everything, it's only a 5-hour drive. So it's not like you have to leave.
So I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what the deal is. So, but hopefully if I find it, I'll share it to our Sunbelt Syndicate page so everybody can take a look. But I did see it. I didn't understand what was going on, and I was like, what? It seems like the truck shouldn't look like that. But I didn't know. I didn't know what was happening. So now I know. Man. So I'll go back through my my social media network and page and scroll through and see if I can't find it, and I'll repost it.
Hey, speaking of my dad, he did say he was going to try and be a part of the show, and he did throw in a question. This is him, Husky Lineman 54. So it seems to me App State D-line has gap assignments rather than dangerous pass rush, probably due to athletic quarterbacks that run, which is a great point because we see a lot of that in the Sun Belt. So, I mean, TJ can speak to this a little bit better than I can, maybe to answer his question more specifically.
Yeah. When you're playing against mobile quarterbacks, the thing that you have to keep, and Devin and I talked about this earlier, is gap integrity, right? It's not about getting pressure. Any team can get pressure. It's about being integral while you have pressure, maintaining outside leverage, because there's two things that happen. If you're rushing from the outside and then you leave your middle wide open against an athletic quarterback, obviously he's going to step up in the pocket, take off running if he's worth his snuff. Same thing with not having outside contain, right? If you don't contain and cut off that edge, and that's why Devin and I were talking about when you're rushing the quarterback, it's very, very important that your defensive ends or your edge players, whether they're linebackers or ends, that they rush this way, right? You don't rush this side, especially against an athletic quarterback, because you're going to give him the outside. And once you give him that outside, if he's a good quarterback, he's still got eyes and vision down the field. He'll suck the defense up with maybe a pump fake or something like that, and then he'll take off and run by him, or you give your receivers chances to get open. So you've got to rush with integrity. You've got to keep gap assignments, and I think what we don't have is that. And I think what we've been trying to do more of, to answer your dad's question, is maintaining that gap control, because when you're playing against those kinds of quarterbacks, it's easy for them to get outside of that pocket. So I get why we haven't had as many sacks as you think we probably should have, or been as much of a pass rush team as we probably should have, or at least we've been in years past. Is because hell, every quarterback we played against so far can run, right? And you got to be smart when you got a quarterback that can run. Otherwise, he'll gash you. He'll kill you. So,
and that's exactly what we will be scared of if it does happen tomorrow night, because we know Grayson McCall has done it to us before.
That's not ending tomorrow night. You're gonna have to.
No. Yeah, exactly our point. So
so it'll be
just on with Armanti Edwards and Richie Williams. Those are two of the best to ever do it. And when people didn't keep gap integrity when they rushed them, you saw what happened. Michigan, firsthand saw it. Furman saw it against with Richie Williams, and even LSU got a taste of Richie Williams. A couple times when he broke free. So those are guys that can run. Those are guys that can throw, and they leave the pocket to look downfield first, right? Despite what the stats say, they are actual throwing quarterbacks that can run. And there's a difference between running quarterbacks and quarterbacks that can run. And those two are guys that were very good quarterbacks that also were blessed with wheels. So shout out to my boys, my quarterbacks.
They definitely were two of the best to ever do it. Guys, unless we have any final thoughts, I think that was a great show there and should about wrap it up. Looks like the questions have kind of come to an end here, and I think we've reached a pretty good stopping point. I think we got one hell of a matchup coming tomorrow night because we don't know exactly what will happen, but we've just talked about all the opportunities that both teams will have to succeed. So hopefully everyone will tune in. It's a 7:30 kick on ESPN2. And any final thoughts, gentlemen, before we say adieu?
Go out. I'll be there. Or not be there, but I'll be in front of my TV. That's for sure.
Brandon, where can people follow you along the journey as College Football Dogs continues their growth really here in the college football coverage world?
They can follow me on Twitter at Bisco on the Air, and just follow me on College Football Dogs. May have some more stuff coming in down the pipeline soon. So
awesome.
Thanks, Brandon. I really appreciate you being a part of the show, buddy.
Absolutely. And for any App or Coastal fans that are going to be in Boone tomorrow night, yours truly will be there. I've got some swag, some stickers are both the Sunbelt Syndicate and College Football Dogs. If you see me, run into me, ask for one. I'll give you one. They're free.
Sounds good.
All right, gentlemen. Thank you very much for being a part of the show. TJ, we'll talk. And Brendan, see you later, man.
See ya.